invite all the speakers to come here for questions. I'll bring some other chairs for everyone. Thank you very much. I think it was very good session for high caliber speaker apart from me. So it's open question for us as servants. So please, any question? But don't say no question. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there anybody in the professional body in the UK where anybody can go and complain against their members, apart from the doctors? So, my neighbor, if he's not happy with me, he can easily go on the GMC and put a complaint against me. While other professions, I think it's more vigorous process. Do you think that's fair?
Well, like I said, under the 1983 Medical Act, we have absolutely no latitude. So the most ridiculous complaint I know of personally is exactly as you describe it, a complaint against a doctor who was growing Leylandii in his garden that had reached such a height that his neighbour complained about him to the GMC because of the height of his trees. So that very quickly goes into the 5,000 that we reject. But we did want to, we are a reforming organisation. I would very much like this new government after the May 2010 election. I lobbied very hard with number 10 to get the Law Commission bill into the Queen's Speech. It wasn't put in, it's not a vote winner. They say it may be in the next Queen's Speech. But the Law Commission bill would allow us to radically change that 1983 Act to give you regulation that hopefully was quicker, less burdensome and less vulnerable to these egregious, vexatious complaints.
That's the problem, because until you investigate the complaint, that doctor is in miserable life, and
Yeah.
for nothing founded.
Yeah.
That's one thing. The other thing is basically we don't have even a comeback. If somebody puts a complaint against me, I can't put a complaint against them if the complaint was basically taken up.
No, well, that's British justice. You're innocent until proven guilty, but being found in a, you know, and then if nothing's found against you, that doesn't give you a right to counter-complain. But I can tell you, sadly, one of the things we do find is, I said, a third of the complaints come from doctors, not neighbours, fellow doctors, and we see repeatedly claim and counterclaim. So a doctor who works with you complains about you. What's the first thing you do? You complain back against them. We now have 2 complaints that we are obliged by law to investigate fully. And I'm afraid that happens quite a lot, that tit for tat behaviour. But we can't control that. I'm afraid we are obliged to take them both even-handedly on equal merit and pursue them.
So the answer is no.
Okay. Yes, please.
My question is about Caesar application. Some of the candidates were given, for example, feedback from GMC that you need to have spinal experience, pediatric experience, this trauma, that trauma. You are, for example, working in the trust. So within 1 year, you have to do spine, pediatrics, this and that. You need to find a job for all these and then apply within 1 year. What is the philosophy and realistic situation about this?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure David can answer this. Probably better than me.
This is a hot potato. I think that in order for all of these things to work and have recognition, and people accept that you are worth it, and you are worth it, it needs to be a two-way street. Laws work well when they work both ways. And so if you are wanting equivalence, then it has to be equivalence. The problem that David tried to highlight is if you are going to, and also the GMC, as Terence pointed out, that you have to achieve the same things. Now the trainees, if you like, have it easy because they get a 6-year course. They have a nice structured thing because David Lynn's put a lot of effort into it. Because you don't have that structure behind you, and really that's what we should be trying to do within the BOA, is make sure that you do have that structure behind you because you haven't had access to it, which is why the ISCP is now going to be open to you. We have to make it easier for you. The trainees can't do it in a year. You know, they've done it in 6 years. And the trainees can't get all their evidence together within, well, they should have all their evidence together if they behave themselves, and I've done my job as an educational supervisor. But they don't do it all in 1 year, they gather it over 6 years. So you can't, I don't think you can do it over a year. What you have to do is have a target and pace yourself and collect it over a period of time. But if you want to be respected, you have to achieve the same standards for whatever it is you're going to go for. And that means you have to achieve the same standards. And if we're going to do it at undergraduate level, we have to do it at postgraduate level. The slightly good thing, although for some it's not a good thing, is that the curriculum for orthopaedics is well defined, clearly laid out, with set milestones to go through, whereas a lot of the others aren't, or not as good anyway. And if that's the case, then you have to achieve it. But I accept achieving spine pediatrics and 2 audits and a publication in a year, I couldn't manage that, and I'm a professor.
I think the message don't apply that you got your spine and pediatric in hand ready. And I think with David Large, we try to arrange a course by next year for Caesar, particularly for TNO, how to apply. So don't put your application unless you know that you have done this one. I think this is what you should.
Yes, actually there are 2 questions. One of them is with regards to spine in the Caesar application. I'm aware of applicants who've had 3 months of spine experience in the UK who have gone through the Caesar, and some have been asked to go and get 6 months done. So is there a sort of, because the trainees used to have 6 months, some of the centralization of services, they might not all have 6 months. So is there a particular time period in spine? Because that's one specialty which is sort of getting quite centralized. Others, people tend to get their experience in their own locality.
The requirements of the curriculum are not stipulated in terms of time. If you look at the clinical skills section, the syllabus section of the curriculum, it will demonstrate the competence level that you require to achieve. How quickly you achieve that is dependent not just on your own skill, but on what the actual program provides you. You can achieve that potentially in 2 or 3 weeks. It may take 2 or 3 years. It's not set in time, but it is that required competence level that you're required to demonstrate. And I would say, having looked through lots and lots of trainees, logbooks and Caesar applicants, and having worked in a region, been a program director in a region where it is notoriously difficult to provide spinal training, the trainees do still manage to pick up that competence. It's not easy for them, but it's easier because they are on a program. If it's difficult for the trainees, it is a lot more difficult if you're outside a structured program, and therein lies the problem.
The major forthcoming problem is, as somebody pointed out, major trauma. It is reasonable to put major trauma into the program for training, but that means it's into Caesar as well. And actually, we're having problems trying to get it into the training programs, and I think that around the country, and I think it will be a problem for Caesar as well.
Second question is regarding to revalidation. We are expected to get 50 points every year for appraisal and 5 years for a revalidation, which means we have to go for a lot of courses which are quite expensive. Unfortunately, the amount we pay for these courses aren't being recognized by the HMRC for naturally. Is that something that the college or the GMC is being aware?
Just to clarify that 50 points a year, if you look on the advice of the Royal College's website, that's 50 points in total that is made up of clinical, academic and managerial, and it's made up of external courses, internal teaching and self-directed learning. And you're not supposed to accumulate more than about 20 points in any, so for example, clinical external, you're not supposed to have more than 20 out of the 50 in that. So attending the BOA gets you all of your, as a free course, all of your external CME for the year. So there isn't a requirement to go on a lot of external courses. I'm not a tax man, I would love to have it taxed.
So is there anything that